Hey everybody, and welcome to the exercise solutions for the notebook setting a meaningful index. So I'm all the way down here at the bottom of the notebook again. We did change some of the display options, so I'm going to go ahead and change one of them here just so actually the last problem can work. So let me go ahead and read in the movie data set and just output the head. So there were more than 20 rows by default, so now we can actually see all 20 rows. And let's keep going on here. So it says read in the movie data set and set the index to be something other than the movie title. Are there any other good columns to use as the index? All right, so let's look through here. We have title, year, color. Are there any other good columns to use as the index? So we want the index to be unique and descriptive. So it actually doesn't appear that there's any other useful column names here. I suppose you could use the director name, but of course that's duplicated. But let's go ahead and do that. And we'll see how that looks. So index call equals director. We'll just call this movie 2 since we're lazy here. Movie2.head. Okay. Oh, it's director name. So I misspelled that. Okay, so director name. There we go. Okay, so director name is certainly not going to be unique. Directors tend to, direct more than a single movie. So I would say the answer to this is that no, there's no other really good columns to use as an index. The title is certainly the best one. So we're gonna not use this director name. Again, you want the index to be unique and descriptive, and this director name is neither one actually. Let's move on to exercise 2. Use setIndex to set the index and keep the column as a part of the data. Okay, so we have to dig into the documentation here. So let's go back to our original movie data set, and we'll go ahead and set the index to be the title of the movie. So let's use this, set index. Now if you press Shift Tab here, we will see that, take a look at this second parameter called drop, and it says it's defaulted to true, and it's going to delete the column to be used as the new index. Okay, so we can set this to false, so we will keep that column as a column and not remove it. So if we use the title as the index and say drop equals false, so we're not going to drop this. All right. Then you can see that now title is in the index, but title is also a column, so it was not dropped. By default, it will drop this whenever you do set index. So if you want to keep it as a column, you can use this default parameter. So this question is just testing your ability to read the documentation, see what options are available within these methods. So you need to know how to look through these, the documentation and scan through it and figure out the different possibilities that are available to you. So let's just call this a M3. We're being very lazy here, just so we can move on to the next one. Okay, so it says assign the index of the movie data frame that has the titles in the index to its own variable. Okay, so output the last 10 movies. So it's a little bit difficult to read, but I believe what it's saying is assign the index. Okay, so this data frame M3 has the index that has the, it has the title in it. So let's go ahead and get this index by itself. So I'm just going to call it IDX, and let's just output it again. And it says output the last 10 movies. So now I have a variable that contains just the index of it. So really, it's good to think of the index just like a list. It is definitely much more than a Python list, but when you're beginning, this is a perfectly fine thing to do. Just think of it as a list, which means that it does slicing. So there's no like tail method. You can just simply use slicing like this with negative indices to output the last 10. So this will go from -10 all the way to the end. So these are the last 10 movie titles. If you use the index like this. So just a little index manipulation You typically don't use the index directly a lot like this, but just to showcase that you can, this is a possibility. All right, it says use an integer instead of the column name for the index call when reading in the data using read CSV. So read CSV gives you some options here whenever you're reading in data to set the index with, you don't have to provide it the actual name. You can provide it an integer which refers to its location. So if we look up here, title is integer location 0. But if we wanted to select the director name as the index, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we could use the integer 5 like this. And so that would place the director name in the index like that. So it understands either integer location or the actual name of the name of the column name that you would like to use as the index. So it's more explicit to use the name, so I would definitely use that instead of this integer like this. So I'd almost never use this, but it is available for you. All right. So if you've changed a lot of settings in your Jupyter Notebook for a lot of the Panda settings in your Jupyter Notebook, you can actually reset all of them by doing this reset option command. So this is a function available in Pandas, and you just pass it the string all. So if you press Shift Tab over here, normally to just reset one, you would just put in the actual name of the option you'd like to reset, like display dot max columns. But if you've changed a lot of them, for instance, you can actually just reset all of them using this string all. And this worked. So this is just a warning. So this actually is not very meaningful right now. It's just sort of a bug warning. So you can just ignore this. But if we look at so we didn't do anything wrong here. This is just something that Pandas needs to take care of. But if we look at the movie data frame, now we've reset these options, and all of a sudden we cannot see all of the columns anymore. So that does verify that. We can also use the get option and actually place in the display.max columns option to get even more verification here that it is in fact moved down to 20 from 40 when I first did it from above. So reset all if you've made a lot of changes and you want to clear them all out. One little note is that these changes do not persist to the next notebook. It's just for this particular session. So don't worry about permanently altering your options. They reset automatically whenever you begin a new notebook. All right, so that covers it for the exercises of setting a meaningful index.